Strings in C are stored as arrays of characters, so an array in which every element is a character. You have to have what is called the string delimiter, or the end of string sentinel at the end of the string. And this is the null character, which is \0. In C, characters are in single quotes, and strings are in double quotes. So for example, if you have in single quotes X, that's a single character, but in double quotes, X is a string that actually consists of two characters, the character X and the end of string sentinel, the null character. So when you declare the size of a string array, you have to have enough space to accommodate that extra null character at the end of the string. So here's how you declare a string variable. So the type is going to be char, so the type of every element is a character, the name of the string variable, and in square brackets the size. So again, a string is just an array of characters. So this declares a character array variable with 10 elements in it. So the indices go from 0 to 9. But a string can only store a maximum of 9 characters in this variable because you have to leave room for the null character. So you can only have up to 9 of your own characters in the string, and then the null character would be at the end. So a maximum of 9 characters. You don't have to store all of them. Strings can be initialized in the declaration in two different ways. So I can use the assignment operator and then in double quotes have a string. And if I do that, it's going to store in the first 4 elements in the string array O, K, A, Y, and then in the 5th element will be the null character. Or you can sort of brute force do it yourself by putting inside of curly brackets, which is how you can initialize any array, the individual characters, O, K, A, Y. But if you do it yourself that way, you have to put the end of string sentinel at the end of the string. So not in the 10th element, but after the actual elements that you're initializing. So in both cases, the characters, including the null character, will occupy the first 5 elements in the array. So the array indices 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the rest of the elements have not been initialized. Okay, after a string variable has been declared, how can you assign values to string variables? Well, you might be surprised by this, but this does not work. So you cannot take a string in double quotes and assign it to a string variable. However, you could assign individual characters into the individual elements of the array. And again, when you do that, you have to include the end of string sentinel after the actual string that you want to store. So again, the assignment statement does not work. What about reading into a string? Well, the scanf function can read into a string, but it only reads up to a whitespace character. So if I prompt the user and say, please enter a string, and then scanf using the %s for the format, the variable myString, and notice that with a string variable, as with all array variables, you do not have the ampersand in front of the name because an array basically already stores the address. So if we have the scanf and the user enters the string hi space there, only the hi will be stored in the variable myString, mystr. However, there is another function, getS, short for getString, that will read the entire string. So if I say please enter a string and the user types in hi there, getS will actually read that entire string. There are some string functions that you can use, which are in the string.h header file, so you have to start by including that header file. So the functions include, and I'll say all of these out loud as string, even though it's just str. String cpy, short for string copy, takes the value of a string and copies it into a string variable. So since we cannot use the assignment operator, this is basically the replacement. So how you can take a string and store it in a string variable. The string cat function is the concatenation function that will take whatever you have in this string variable and concatenate this string, whatever that is, to the end of the string variable. The string length function, strlen, will return the length of the string. So that's not the number of elements in that string variable, it's the actual number of characters that are stored in the string, not including the end of string sentinel. And then the strcmp, string compare function, will compare two strings, string 1, string 2, and it returns 0 if they are the same. It returns a positive value if string 1 is greater than string 2, and a negative value otherwise.